can use to defeat the main threat and find their place in the world. And for Kay, this all begins with the yellow flower, but it's the next realization that will really set the ball rolling.
You know battle.
Next
Do
realization,
you know
we
your
need to understand
light?
the lifestyle of Kay. Kay is a representation of the average lonely man in society. He lives in a dingy apartment in poverty, and when he comes home, we hear his girlfriend shouting from
Checking
the
now.
room.
Okay, it's ready. I hope you're gonna like it.
Whose name is later revealed as Joy. But Joy isn't just a normal girlfriend. She is simply sentient AI, with her only physical representation existing as a
Have
hologram.
messages.
She's not even real. There is no real deep connection. She's a program. But Kay uses this AI to mask the pain of his loneliness. Loneliness is a key theme in Blade Runner, and the character of Joy makes
Guardians are all
incredibly parallel with the world today. You see, Joy plays the role of a supportive housewife.
What do you need?
You can't help but notice that she's literally tied to the house. And later on, we also learn that she's programmed to love Kay, most likely unconditionally. In fact, Kay has complete control over her, down to her features, voice, and even her eye color. Designed to be the perfect girlfriend, she has no choice but to fulfill her purpose. And even though Kay does feel some artificial love for her, it's still incredibly limited. And we get the sense that Kay knows all of this. He's all too aware of his bleak surroundings. When he's asked later about her, and he calls her very realistic. Although it's clear that this romance doesn't have any real basis. There's no dance of courtship or finding out what the other person thinks and feels. Instead, it's completely safe, cold, and sterile. Joy lacks the ability to even consider not loving Kay, and this makes the whole thing so boring and bleak, lacking any of the deeper levels that gives a relationship any meaning in the first place. It's almost like an analogy for adult entertainment, offering you the perfect woman, the perfect body, the perfect face, complete quick gratification, all in exchange of a horrible, lonely, long life. But even without considering the question of free will, Joy serves as a reflection of our society as well. Her role is to keep Kay complacent and smooth out his awful life. She's to anchor him down, to make him never fulfill his purpose, and to keep the ever-present loneliness and horribleness of Kay's world from getting to him. But at its core, it's all inauthentic and imperfect. Technology is fulfilling a role that just can't be replaced, which is why it seems so clear that Joy's holographic visage is just a few steps beyond the adult entertainment and golfing experiences that so many men pay for. Parasocial relationships people have with Twitch streamers, Instagram stars, and OnlyFans models. Sure, Joy may seem real, but she is a commodification. There's nothing there. She doesn't exist. It's a soulless husk of a human being, with Kay simply chasing a phantom, only making him more and more lonely. And the same process is happening right now today, and the consequences for both men and women in modern society are horrific. More and more men and women go without any meaningful connections. We're lonelier than ever, more depressed than ever, more attached to our screens than we are the people around us. It's all just a mask to hide up their horrible, depressing, dystopian lives. And this is what's so depressing in Blade Runner. When both Kay and Joy come to embrace on the roof, the call from the boss freezes Joy mid-frame and Kay is forced to answer, confronting the brutal, horrible reality that is his life, where his boss demands that Kay come back to the office immediately, as they found something. Once he's there, Kay is shown the contents of the box, which turns out to be a coffin. A woman's body has been found, and it's decades old. At first, it looks like the Thumber murdered her, but it's just not the case. Instead, she died in childbirth, which becomes all the more shocking when we learn that she's also a replicant. Now, replicants are meant to give birth, but somehow in a miraculous turn of events, she had anyway. And as Kay's boss says, this will break the world as they know it. Learning that replicants can...
They call me Koala Man. It's my mission to clean up this town.
That's gone crazy, hasn't he?
Whole town's gone psycho.
We do.
Earning a college degree shouldn't take 4 years. With WGU, I can speed up the pace of my education. An accredited university that offers quality programs and early graduation, I choose WGU.
can also create life would break the final barriers between them and human beings, forcing the world to come to terms with this gross treatment of sentient life. But all of this can be avoided if Kay hides up the evidence and finds the child as soon as possible. And this setup brings us to Kay's overall quest in his journey to find the mystery behind this child. This is Kay's program purpose. So Kay goes to look up the genetic file of the baby, but just as he finds it, he's greeted by a new character called Love. Now Love is also a replicant and works for Wallace, the shadowy figure behind all of the new replicants, the hidden technocrat running society. Love does give him some info, but it's all fast and muddled.
You've got a little boy, shows you his butterfly collection. Last thing we killed Jeremy.
But eventually he gets the name Deckard from a recording that was made. And using this info, Kay talks to an old colleague of Deckard's, who also gives some cryptic information. Love, who is updating Wallace on what happened. Now Wallace is a crazed megalomaniac, comparing himself to God. He's the hidden elite, the top 0.01%. And behind his virtuous veneer, Wallace has very dark plans for the future. He hopes to create replicants that can give birth so that he can create a self-replicating population of slave labor for humanity's expansion. And he's created a new model of replicant, who still hasn't unlocked the secret. And in a grotesque display of power and cruelty, he buys one of the new models then kills it. As lives mean nothing to him. It's all about more power and more greed. And all of the people around Wallace are programmed to love and obey him. They have no choice. And that's when Wallace reveals that he knows about the replicant child and tasks Love to find them as well. But Wallace isn't just the main antagonist for Kay though. He represents a much larger and more expansive force at work in society. Now the habitus is a concept derived by sociologists to explain how society slave labor for humanity's expansion, and he's created a new model of replicant, who still hasn't unlocked the secrets, and in a grotesque display of power and cruelty, he births one of the new models then kills it. As lives mean nothing to him, it's all about more power and more greed, and all of the people around Wallace are programmed to love and obey him. They have no choice. And that's when Wallace reveals that he knows about the replicant child, and tasks Love to find them as well. But Wallace isn't just the main antagonist for Kay though. He represents a much larger and more expansive force at work in society. Now the habitus is a concept derived by sociologists to explain how society molds people. When someone is born, they are immediately subject to the attitudes and viewpoints of the people around them. This process of absorption turns them into a reflection of this process and the values that have been instilled within them. But when a society degenerates, and people feel no connection to the society around them, it also feeds into this process. Acts of isolation, violence, sexual deviancy build up, until eventually the habitus has been changed, twisted by the values that are false and detrimental to the people within it. And that's why Wallace exists as a personification of this twisted dystopian habitus, forcing people into roles that are predetermined, roles that are corrupted at the core. And this is the same effect in Blade Runner as our own world. People are unable to find meaning without proper guidance how to live authentically. We look up to false idols, self-help gurus, and any quick fix for our purposeless lives. With our society forcing people into roles they never really wanted, but were pushed into this horrible, isolating box, inevitably leading to loneliness and despair, as people search for some hidden meaning but are unable to ever find it, because they can never see outside of the box they live in. But there's a problem for Wallace and the habitus. Eventually they will die.
The comments are probably blowing up here.
When that happens, both the habitus and Wallace will be unable to force their own will and replicants in society as a whole. So Wallace searches for a replicant that can give birth. And so the child that Kay is searching for will in fact unlock this hidden secret. And so the race is on, and Love hires some replicant prostitutes to get whatever information they can out of Kay. So 3 of them walk over to him while he's looking at the pictures, and they catch a quick glance before he notices. 2 of them back off when they realize that Kay is a Blade Runner. The 3rd one strikes up a conversation, and it's clear within this short conversation that Kay's loneliness is at the forefront.
Oh, you don't even smile.
The Kay is an incredibly lonely man. He's been desensitized by his perfect AI girlfriend, just like adult Einstein does with so many men today, and this has shut him off from the real, authentic world. By this point in the story, Kay is at a dead end in his search. He has no idea what to do, so he goes back to the farm where they found the body, and there he finds a secret compartment with a single sock hidden away, as well as a date carved on a tree. Now the date eerily matches one of Kay's memories that he believes were implanted into him artificially, but after talking to Joy, the dangerous possibility is made much more clear. The memories could actually be real, and this would mean that Kay would be the special child that everyone's been searching for. And this is massive news for Kay, and is a key piece in his heroic journey, because so far his life has been almost meaningless, or at least lacking any authentic goals or purpose. But now Kay has stumbled down a rabbit hole that could confirm his meaning and place in the world. Now philosophers have talked about meaning in lots of different ways for centuries, but one of the most prominent modern Western philosophers to gain attention for their theories was Schopenhauer. He saw people were being fitted into predetermined roles by society. Without the freedom to escape from the roles, they're forced to live out their lives in service, toiling away at labor that they have no connection to, isolated from the product or motive, and no sense of attachment to their work. And this forces people to ask the questions of where the meaning of life comes from. And in both the world of the Blade Runner and our world today, this seems to be an increasingly pressing problem. And in Blade Runner, this analogy is literal. Replicants are designed for and made to fulfill roles that don't give them any fulfillment or purpose, but to fulfill their slave master. And the same is true in the real world, though not in such a literal sense. Even if technology has to strip people of free will like in Blade Runner, they still put them in a box, where we're forced to toil away for a system made of billions of people, a system that's almost too large to notice or care about the individuals it's made of. But in finding out that he might be the mythical child of a replicant, Kay has been given a glimpse of light, a chance to escape his meaningless existence. With the film showing that there is a way out of Schopenhauer's pessimistic view of the world, and Kay is going to do everything he can to hold onto this hope. So Kay goes back to his place where he had the memory linked to the date, and what he finds only confirms his belief. The same wooden toy in his memory that he thought was fake is still there, and once he's retrieved it, Kay is hit by the realization that he is special, and that he has a higher purpose to work towards, which is only reinforced by Joy, who gives him a real name. And to confirm this theory even further, Kay goes to check whether his memory is an implant or not. To do this, he heads to a specialized lab where the woman responsible for creating replica memories lives. She's immunocompromised, meaning that she can't leave her room and has been there as a child. So she watches Kay's memory with tears in her eyes and tells him that it's all real. What he remembered really did happen, and his life really does have a greater meaning. Up until this point, Kay had been holding in all of his emotions, but when Kay learns that his memory is actually real, it's all too much. It means that he is the replicant child, and that his life as a Blade Runner is all a lie. and this knowledge is all too much for Kay, who lets out years of raw, pent-up emotion in one short outburst. All the loneliness, the sacrifices, the false mission his whole life is built around. And soon after leaving the lab, Kay is promptly arrested, where he's taken in by his boss and is subjugated to the emotion tracking baseline test. Kay predictably fails, but saves his own life by lying to his boss that he found the child and killed them. She lets him go and Kay heads home to see Joy. But when he gets home, Joy has a surprise for him. She has hired the prostitute from earlier to sync with her, also that she can experience real love-making with Kay. And even though technology looks close to the real thing, it still hasn't cleared the unbridgeable gap. It's all a lie. It's just another form of instant gratification that's holding Kay's life down, all for the benefit of the powerful few. And so just before the prostitute leaves, she places a tracker on Kay so that Wallace can follow him. And suddenly Kay is on a timer. He knows the authorities are tracking him down, and before he leaves, he transfers Joy to the portable device and erases her from the house, so that her memories can't be mined for information on Kay. This means she's tied to the device. If it's destroyed, then she will die with it. Love then shows up to the apartment shortly after, and finds out that they've disappeared. Meanwhile, Kay finds out that the wooden toy he found was from Las Vegas, which is now... Suddenly, Kay is on a timer. He knows the authorities are tracking him down, and before he leaves, he transfers Joy to the portable device and erases her from the house, so that her memories can't be mined for information.
Don't stop fighting.
This means she's
We all appreciate
If
it.
it's destroyed, then she will die with it. Love then shows up to the apartment shortly after, and finds out that they've disappeared. Meanwhile, Kay finds out that the wooden toy he found was from Las Vegas, which is now an eradicated wasteland. Love next goes to see Kay's boss, but kills her when she tells him that Kay killed the child and is nowhere to be found. And after hacking into the computer system using her dead body, Love learns that Kay is in Las Vegas, but Kay is still ahead of her, and makes his way to the Ruined City, where he finds Deckard, who Kay now believes is his
Earth's a good place. Worth fighting for.
a replicant called Rachel. But before they go any deeper into the discussion, Love shows up with backup, kidnapping Deckard and leaving Kay for dead, who is heavily wounded. But not before Love kills Joy by stepping on her portable device, killing the only strand of his past life. Kay is now completely alone, although is luckily rescued and taken in by a shadowy secret society of replicants. The woman who planted the tracker earlier is there to welcome him, where they tell Kay about their plans to rebel against humanity and free themselves of Wallace and the
No substitute for a full magazine.
to stop Wallace learning about the child. But what's more important for Kay is the information they have for him. Rachel had a daughter, not a son, which means that Kay isn't the chosen one. The memories he had were implants from the real girl. Kay doesn't have a predetermined higher goal to strive towards. It was all a facade. Instead, he's only one person in the world, and his whole journey up until this point has only been meaningful insofar as it helped other people on their journeys. His life has been meaningless for himself. He has been a slave, and this realization breaks Kay down. It's the total reverse of what his whole journey was about. But this doesn't just represent the end of Kay's journey, it also means the end of his world, his identity, who he is. Kay's meaning has been founded on the belief that he is special, that he matters for reasons completely outside of his control. But without this foundation to structure his identity upon, Kay's world is crashing down. He's even lost Joy, his only companion in life. So as Kay steps outside, we're treated to one of the most powerful scenes in the movie, where a massive hologram of Joy appears in front of Kay, telling him that she can help with his deep-seated loneliness. But this isn't actually Kay's Joy, this is just an advertisement. But even without knowing anything about him, the hologram calls Kay Joe, only further confirming the feeling that Kay's life has been built on lies. Joy's love for him, and even what she said in their most intimate moments, were all designed and created by someone else. It was all fake from the beginning. This one realization drives home Schopenhauer's pessimistic view of meaning. The only thing that has meaning is the struggle to exist. And Schopenhauer calls this the will, simply the spirit and people that keeps them moving forward. Surviving is the only cause of the will, because once you die, there isn't any way to know what your life was like. All the singular moments that made up your life will vanish. And the philosophy of Blade Runner goes way beyond this. For thousands of years, people have grappled with the idea that without a higher source of meaning, there are only the struggles of life. In Buddhism, this makes up the first two parts of the Four Noble Truths. Life is suffering. Suffering is what Schopenhauer called the will. Buddhism then teaches us that we need to rise above the will altogether. But Nietzsche also spent years on this very same question and came to a different conclusion. Whilst we can't find meaning outside of ourselves, it doesn't mean that we can't create it. The will, the process of striving towards something, isn't a futile struggle because it has no meaningful end purpose. Instead, a psychologically strong person can change the world around them, creating meaning out of the choices that are laid before them. It takes courage to stand into the abyss of life and create something worth caring about. This is the meaning of life, to create it yourself. The more meaning you can create through your actions, the stronger that you are. And in our modern world, this is even harder than it was before. With people's value systems and their habits being completely fractured, it gets harder and harder to discover what's actually truly valuable and meaningful in your own life. Because there is no set purpose anymore. It's all twisted for someone else's gain. And as technology progresses, it makes the distractions and replacements all the more enticing. But these are just dead ends, empty of meaning. All of this also leads to crushing loneliness, as people are isolated by their world from the people around them. And the world of Blade Runner is almost a dystopian prediction of the future, where all the faults of today are maximized to the fullest. But even in this barren future, Kay still has the strength to find meaning, as we'll soon find out. At first it seemed like Kay's gonna kill Deckard, falling into yet another predetermined role, with Kay going out of his way to ambush Deckard's convoy, shooting down the other hover cars and forcing Deckard's car to land. But instead of just killing Deckard, Kay tries to save him. He fights Love in a long and intense battle, with both of them being gravely wounded. But even after getting stabbed multiple times, Kay overpowers Love and pulls Deckard out of the sunken wreck, only narrowly saving him from drowning. For the first time ever, Kay isn't on some predestined path laid out before him. This time, it's real. His purpose is authentic, and his decisions are entirely his own. So when he saves Deckard, Kay creates a meaning for his journey. He fulfills his heroic path, and by this time he has figured out he was really the replicant child. It is the scientist that worked at the memory lab. Her tears were never for Kay, but because she was seeing her own memory. And when Kay brings Deckard to see his daughter, the journey is complete. All of his struggle and loss and suffering have reunited the child and their father. And it's in this act that Kay finally feels fulfilled. He's discovered the meaning he's always been searching for, and in a bittersweet ending, Kay succumbs to his wounds. But at the end of his life, he finally got to understand what it's like to live for something real. And that's why Blade Runner is such a massive movie. And of course, lots of its details and themes are left up to interpretation. But what is very clear is its ability to give us a window into our modern world. The purpose, the loneliness, the meaning of our place in society. Which is why the questions that Blade Runner asks are integral to understanding our place in the world. And as time passes by, the message of the film will only become more and more important.
When you prefer dream vacation over a rental nightmare.
Sometimes.
It's better to stay. Hilton for the stay.
It is said that good art enables us to find ourselves through it and lose ourselves because of it. If that quote rang true for you, it also rang true for me when I first experienced Blade Runner.
The sketch contains stolen goods. Find them so they might fulfill a better purpose. A better purpose indeed. That's right, Guardian. A salvage crew is already en route to strip this catch bare. We are not here for your enrichment, Spider.
Anyway, Experian. Download the Experian app now.
Stay out of sight and target the servitors, Guardian.
Halsix has sharp eyes. He'll enhance your precision.
guys? Lanky Kong here with
I'm not
another
feeling
reaction
it.
video. We got a special one today. It's the D